Hey Lifers, Dustin here. So yesterday, as I was making this video for the college football news that you actually clicked the link to watch, after I finished wrapping it, I was uploading it to my computer to start editing and saw that Oklahoma's Bob Stoops has actually stepped down as the head coach of Oklahoma. That's the biggest college football news story of the week. And since I'd already made this video, I did not include it in this one. But yesterday, I did make my own kind of Bob Stoops video talking about it. You can click the link right there or the end card at the very end of this video to watch that. So if you clicked on this video to see about Bob Stoops, check that video out. And let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. Hey Lifers, Dustin here, and boy do we have some college football news this week. I actually had to cut a few things off of this video in order to kind of shorten it down a little bit. I guess we're in a way making up for the lack of college football news last week. So let's just dive into it with the very first story. Remember, if there's anything as I'm going through that you think I should know about, that everybody should know about, that I missed on this week, please let me know that down in the comment section. The first story I want to start off with is this whole thing that's been going on this last week at Kansas State. Kansas State head coach Bill Snyder and company, I guess the university, are blocking transfer requests from wide receiver Corey Sutton to go to another program. Actually, that's not entirely accurate. They were blocking 35 transfer requests from Corey Sutton, including no teams that were in the Big 12. None of these teams were on the Wildcats' future football schedule, and some were even in FCS or Division II. Snyder's statement claims that when a player signs a letter of intent to a school, he is committing to them for 4 years, but Sutton responded to that and said, but coaches can leave, why can't players leave? Which I think is a pretty valid point. Snyder also appeared to kind of try to tarnish Sutton's character in the public by some way by bringing up that the young man had reportedly failed 2 drug tests already. It's very weird. That's a very un-Snyder-like thing to do, I feel. Ultimately, after a few days of kind of outside pressure, Snyder did agree to allow the young man to transfer to another school and grant his transfer request, but it does bring up a very interesting question, and one that I may end up making a longer video on a Saturday on sometime soon. Should college football players be able to transfer whenever they want, within reason? Coaches can leave whenever they want, wherever they want. Even if they're actually under contract, college football players can't do that, and I think that's a really interesting discussion. What do you think? When a player signs a letter of intent, are they committing to a certain amount of time there? Should they be able to transfer to any school they want, or any school that doesn't affect that school? There's a lot of gray in this argument, so let me know what you think. Speaking of transfer requests, the SEC tweaked its graduate transfer program last Friday. It reduced the penalties for programs whose incoming graduate transfers failed to meet a certain academic standard. It limits the probation period of the school that with the incoming graduate transfer that doesn't meet those academic thresholds from 3 years to 1 year, which now meets all the other Power 5 conferences in that kind of regulatory stance. It also immediately helps the University of Florida, who looks to add Malik, Zaire, former Notre Dame quarterback, who will join the team, it looks like, in 2017 and is immediately eligible to play. This came at the SEC meetings last week, where they also discussed the ability of selling alcoholic beverages on campus and whether graduate transfers can go intra-conference between members within the same league, within the SEC. That last proposal was actually brought up last year by the Georgia Bulldogs in relation to former Alabama defensive back Maurice Smith wanting to transfer from the Tide to Georgia, and Nick Saban initially blocking it, saying he was going to another SEC school. No, I'm not doing that because that's the rules. But then the SEC overruled it and allowed Smith to transfer to Georgia, where he was, I believe, 4th on the team in tackles last year. Do you think that college campuses should be able to sell alcohol on campus, specifically in the stadiums for college games? I know it's pretty profitable for the NFL and for the college teams that are in NFL stadiums, and they are allowed to do it. But let me know what you think about that. Also, while we're on the idea of Nick Saban, Here's a photo of Nick Saban in a Nashville's Predators jersey. You're welcome. 3 former Penn State officials are getting jail time for their failure to adequately report and deal with the Jerry Sandusky abuse scandal at Penn State. This includes former Penn State President Graham Spanier and former Vice President Greg Schultz, who each got 2 months of jail time, and former Nittany Lions Athletic Director Tim Curley, who is going to have to serve 3 months. This is a never-ending story and a sad one at that, but the idea that there is going to be some kind of repercussions for the people who put football above the health and safety of children, that's a good thing. I'm glad that there is going to be some kind of justice in this. It is just a terrible, sad situation all around, though. It was also announced this week that Al Pacino will play head coach Joe Paterno of Penn State in a new HBO movie about Paterno's life and the rise and fall of the program under the Paterno family. That is interesting. I mean, Al Pacino's a really good actor. I guess he can pull it off. I don't see it right now, but, you know, I guess it'll work. Now my big story for the day. Ole Miss is facing a new round of NCAA sanctions, and some of them are potentially quite serious. In January 2016, the NCAA notified Ole Miss that it was conducting an investigation into the program and cited 13 allegations of misconduct against the Ole Miss football program. Ole Miss admitted some of them, yes, they had done, but they were going to challenge the more serious ones. Well, in February of this year, the NCAA added extra allegations during the course of its investigation and is now charging Ole Miss with up to 21 accounts against their football program, including specifically seeming to target Hugh Freeze by saying that Ole Miss lacked institutional control and that Hugh Freeze was, what was their words? Violated the head coaching responsibility legislation. This could lead to some pretty serious NCAA penalties, and honestly, I'm not sure that Freeze would survive in Oxford. Obviously, the Rebels are saying that no, most of the serious charges are false, and that they, as a university, have gone out of their way to show the NCAA that they are in compliance with everything, and that they fundamentally do not have a lack of institutional control. They also defended Hugh Freeze and his recruiting practices in a 124-page response to the NCAA. Ole Miss also referenced a really weird gif of the Joker doing the clapping to Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight. That tweet was sent out by former linebacker and current Miss State player Leo Lewis, who is alleged to have been given money from Ole Miss boosters through an Ole Miss staffer. The investigation is apparently looking into that. There's also been rumors swirling that how he got to Miss State was that Miss State had offered him money as well. And now Ole Miss wants Miss State to investigate Miss State head coach Dan Mullen to see if those accusations are true. The Egg Bowl, y'all. It goes all year long. They claim that the tweet shows that Leo Lewis has, quote, enjoyed causing the university harm, and basically that he would go out of his way to try to show the university in as bad of light as possible. Of the 21 charges the NCAA has levied against Ole Miss, 15 of them are considered level 1, which is the most serious under the NCAA guidelines. The Rebels have already self-imposed a bowl ban this year in the 2017 year and are trying to use that as proof to the NCAA that they really have tried to be under control and that they're hurting themselves in order to kind of get ahead of any additional NCAA penalties. We'll see. Remember, this investigation by the NCAA was already underway by the time the 2016 NFL Draft got here last year, where Larry Tunsil basically admitted in front of the entire press corps that, is it the press corps? In front of the entire press at the NFL Draft that yes, he had accepted money from an Ole Miss assistant coach.
So not only did someone hack your account, but they doctored those messages, is what you're saying, that you were supposed to secure.
Exactly. You're saying those messages were not messages?
Oh, the message you talking about from, no. Those true. Like I said, I made a mistake. That happened and it happened.
So, was it exchanged between you and your coach of money?
I have to say, yeah.
Several former Ole Miss boosters and former head coach Houston Nutt, under whose tenure a lot of these allegations initially appears to have been started, have apparently lawyered up. Basically, this is what has just been kind of breaking over the last week or so. We don't know where this is going to go or how it's going to end. They could end up finding nothing. They could come down rather severely on Ole Miss, either because the allegations are crazy and you can't pay people to come there, and also kind of a flackback from the North Carolina and now the Ole Miss investigations that have taken extraordinarily long time. Part of me feels that the NCAA may feel, I feel that they may feel embarrassed if they actually don't come away with anything significant in here. Or if they find something significant, they're going to feel like they need to come down harsher to justify the years and years this investigation has apparently been taken under. Again, some of these allegations supposedly happened under Coach Houston Nutt, which was a little while ago at this point. I don't know. I hope it's justice. I don't want you to pay players to come to your school, but at the same time, I also don't want the NCAA to drop the hammer if it's not that big of a deal to try to justify them having a really, really long investigation process. That's not fair either. Supposedly in the fall is where we will get kind of the ruling on what the NCAA is saying. That's the timetable that I have right now. We'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they actually vote on it in the fall, if it's like before a really big game, or if it somehow affects Ole Miss this year, even though they're not going to the postseason. I believe they're still eligible for the SEC West and the SEC Championship, though I could be wrong about that. I don't know. We're still a long way to there, but we will just have to see how it goes, I guess. So that's it for me, guys. Those are the big issues that I saw in the college football world this past week. If there's anything that I may have missed that slipped through the cracks, maybe some important transfers that affects your team or players that have been dismissed for some reason, please let me know that down below. I just miss college football and I just want to talk about it, and this is how I get to talk about it now. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. You can also click the circle right there in order to subscribe, or any of the videos over there to the right. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, until next time. Kind of Bob Stoops video talking about it. You can click the link right there, or the end card at the very end of this video to watch that. So if you clicked on this video to see about Bob Stoops, check that video out. And let's get back to our regularly scheduled. I saw that Oklahoma's Bob Stoops has actually stepped down as the head coach of Oklahoma. That's the biggest college football news story of the week. And since I'd already made this video, I did not include it in this one. But yesterday, I did make my own. Hey, Lifers, Dustin here. So yesterday, as I was making this video for the college football news that you actually clicked the link to watch, after I finished wrapping it, I was uploading it to my computer to start editing, and some college football news last week. So let's just dive into it with the very first story. Remember, if there's anything as I'm going through that you think I should know about, that everybody should know about, that I missed on this week, please let me know that down in the comment section. The first story, program. Hey, Lifers, Dustin here, and boy, do we have some college football news this week. I actually had to cut a few things off of this video in order to kind of shorten it down a little bit. I guess we're in a way making up for the lack of